We start with simply downloading a file from a server from JavaScript. To do this, you can use the XML HTTP request. This is an interface in JavaScript that you can create a new object from and put it on a variable. And using that variable, you can download a file from your own domain. It's important to know that you cannot download files from other domains. So we are going to create a new object from XML HTTP request. So we're going to create a variable. I'm going to call it rec from request equals new space XML HTTP request. And please pay attention to the capital letters here. Opening bracket, closing bracket, semicolon. Now we can simply call the function open from this variable. With the first parameter, the method we're going to use to download the file. Please remember, when we created the form, you also defined a method. That was get or post. Well, you can use the same methods here. Currently, I only want to download one file, so I'm going to use the get method. The second parameter is the file you would like to download. Well, currently, I'm going to download test.txt, a simple text file. Closing bracket, semicolon. If I now call rec.send, opening bracket, closing bracket, semicolon, the request will be sent to our server and the file will be downloaded if available. The browser will not wait until the file is downloaded. So if you have a next command, for instance an alert command, behind the send function, that alert box will immediately be executed without the file being downloaded already. To know when the file is downloaded, we need to attach a function to the load event. So we're going to call rec.addEventListener. Between the brackets, we're going to use the event load, and then let's say function loaded. This function is called when the file is successfully downloaded from the server, but also called when the file was not found on the server and the server sends an error page. So we need to make sure that the file is downloaded correctly. We can do this by checking the variable status. Status holds the return code that the server sends to the user. This code is 200 if the file was downloaded successfully. Any other code is probably a mistake. So we're going to check this variable status on 200. And this variable exists in the object we created when we called new XHTML HTTP request. Because the event is called from within that object, we can access that object within this event using this. So we write if, opening bracket, this.status equals to 200. And of course, if the file is downloaded successfully, I want to display the downloaded file to the user. So alert, opening bracket, this.response text. This holds the content of the file, closing bracket, semicolon. Now, of course, if something goes wrong, I also would like to display an error message. I could create a new if statement with if this.status is not equal to 200, but I'm going to teach you another way today. So far, you've learned that if the comparison in the if statement is correct, the code between the curly brackets will be executed. But if you now add else behind the closing curly bracket, then add a new opening curly bracket and a closing curly bracket, the code between those curly brackets behind the else statement will be executed if the if statement is not correct. So that's another way of programming, and we're going to use that today. So else, opening curly bracket, closing curly brackets, and between those curly brackets, a simple error message. So we're currently handling the file is being downloaded correctly and the file was not downloaded correctly. But in both circumstances, the server sends a response. It's of course possible that the server is so busy that it doesn't answer in time. That's when a timeout event is triggered. It is also possible that your computer is currently not connected to the Wi-Fi and you cannot download the file. That is when the error event is triggered. And of course, in both circumstances, we would like to inform the user. So we're going to also add an event error and an event timeout, both handled by the error function, errorfunc. And in the error function, we're going simply to display an error message to the user, could not connect to the server, please check your internet connection. That's it. You simply downloaded a file from the internet and you're handling the errors if they do not succeed. Well, this was the first explanation on how to download a file.